Hello, welcome to the Daily News Ukraine channel. Today is January 7th and our daily review of news about Ukraine. Primate of the Orthodox Church of Ukraine, Metropolitan Epiphanius, for the first time, conducts the Christmas liturgy in the Holy Dormition Cathedral of the Kiev-Pechersk Lavra. According to an Ukrinform correspondent, the festive liturgy began at 9:00. As reported, the Ministry of Culture and Information Policy of Ukraine recommended that the National Reserve Kiev-Pechersk Lavra not to renew the agreement with the Ukrainian Orthodox Church of the Moscow Patriarchate for the lease of the Dormition Cathedral and the refectory church in the Upper Lavra, the term of which expired on January 1, 2023. According to Minister of Culture and Information Policy Oleksandr Tkachenko, the Commission for the Acceptance and Transfer of the Dormition Cathedral and the Refectory Church of the Kiev-Pechersk Lavra from the Ukrainian Orthodox Church to the state completed its work on January 5. President of Ukraine Volodymyr Zelensky has congratulated Kevin McCarthy on his election as Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives. U.S. support in all fields has been vital for Ukraine's success on the battlefield. We're counting on your continued support and further U.S. assistance to bring our common victory closer, Zelensky wrote on Twitter. Read also, Zelensky thanks Biden for new military aid package. As Ukrinform reported, after 15 rounds of voting, Kevin McCarthy has been elected Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives. Photo, President's Office. The armed forces of Ukraine eliminated about 110,740 Russian troops in Ukraine from February 24, 2022 to January 7, 2023, including 490 over the past day alone. The General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine said this in a post on Facebook, according to Ukrinform. The enemy's total combat losses include also 3,066 tanks, plus 2 over the past day, 6,125 armored combat vehicles, plus 1, 2,062 artillery systems, plus 3, 431 multiple launch rocket systems, 217 air defense systems, plus 2, 285 aircraft, 272 helicopters, 4,798 motor vehicles, plus 1, 16 warships/cutters, 1,844 unmanned aerial vehicles, 182 special equipment units. A total of 723 enemy cruise missiles were shot down. The data is being verified, the General Staff noted. As reported by Ukrinform, the Russian army killed 2 civilians and injured 7 more in Donetsk region on January 6. On Friday, January 6, Russian troops shelled the water area of the Ochakiv community, Mykolaiv region, with artillery. Vitaly Kim, head of the Mykolaiv Regional Military Administration, wrote this on Telegram, Ukrinform reports. The Mykolaiv district. Yesterday, January 6, at 10:20, the enemy launched artillery strikes on the water area of the Ochakiv community. There were no casualties, he wrote. Read also, Mykolaiv region receives 25 power generators from Bulgaria in the Mykolaiv, Pervomaisk, Voznesensk and Bashtanka districts. The day and night were relatively calm. As reported by Ukrinform on January 5, the water area of the Ochakiv community came under enemy artillery strikes twice. The Russian army killed 2 civilians and injured 7 more in Donetsk region on January 6. Pavlo Kirilenko, head of the Donetsk Regional Military Administration, said this in a Telegram post, Ukrinform reports. On January 6, the Russians killed 2 residents of Donetsk region, in Bakhmut and Krasna Ora. 7 more people in the region were injured, he wrote. He noted that it is currently impossible to establish the exact number of victims in Mariupol and Volnovakha. As reported by Ukrinform, the Russian troop launched 1 missile strike and 20 MLRS attacks on January 6, according to the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. Poland, which has already transferred a significant amount of heavy weapons to Ukraine, is considering the possibility of supplying German-made Leopard main battle tanks after receiving replacements from South Korea and the USA. This is stated in an extensive report by the Wall Street Journal with reference to Polish authorities, reports Ukrinform. Poland gave Ukraine more than 240 modernized Soviet-type tanks early in the war. Now, Poland is considering a request from Ukraine to donate its German-made Leopard main battle tanks, a senior Polish diplomat said. This information was confirmed by another European official from the Czech Republic, involved in the process of delivering military equipment to Ukraine. Read also, Finland to hand Ukraine Leopard 2 tanks. If Europe makes such decision, they are for real considering giving anything just to help Ukraine, the official said. Poland has more than 240 Leopard tanks, enough for 2 tank brigades. According to the director of the Polish Institute of International Affairs, Warsaw, Sławomir Debski, the pace at which the country could provide tanks to Ukraine will depend on how quickly Poland will receive replacements from South Korea and the US. At the same time, it is noted that Berlin must also approve the move. As reported, the Leopards are much more heavily armored and more protected against anti-tank weapons than the vehicles France, Germany, and the US have so far offered. Many voices in Russia criticized Vladimir Putin's move to announce the so-called Christmas truce. This is reported by Ukrinform with reference to experts with the US-based Institute for the Study of War, ISW. In particular, war criminal Igor Herkin referred to Putin's ceasefire a bold and decisive step towards the defeat and surrender of the Russian troops. Other prominent war bloggers, according to the ISW report, used the dictator's words about the truce to once again criticize the Kremlin for its way of waging war. Read also, Poland calls out Russian truce as propaganda trick, while many voices in the Russian information space strongly criticized the ceasefire announcement. Certain hardline elements seized on Putin's statement to continue to propagate the narrative that Putin is a protector of religious values and morals, the report reads. At the same time, the Russian authorities and military leadership continue to face a negative reaction due to their response to the Ukrainian high-precision strike on the Russian base in Makiyevka on December 31. As reported by Ukrinform, earlier Russian propaganda media reported that Vladimir Putin allegedly instructed his troops to hold fire from 12 o'clock on January 6 to 2400 hours on January 7 along the entire line of combat. The advisor to the head of the Ukrainian president's office, Mikhailo Podolyak, said that a temporary truce is possible for Russia after they withdraw all forces from the temporarily occupied territories because Ukraine only fights with invaders and does not attack foreign lands or kill civilians. Officials in Washington said Putin's truce statement on the occasion of Christmas was a cynical act aimed at accumulating forces for new attacks. Drones launched by Russia at Ukraine inflict massive damage on the Ukrainian energy system as they hit energy facilities, quite accurately. This was announced on Friday, January 6, by DTEK Executive Director Dmytro Sakharuk, who spoke at the national telethon, Ukrinform reports. As practice has shown, drones, although small in size, cause plenty of damage because they accurately hit their target and provoke fires that destroy transformers, Sakharuk said. He noted that after each drone attack, it becomes more and more difficult to restore the affected power lines. At the same time, he noted that energy companies are trying to respond to power outages as quickly as possible and to restore power supply to the grid. Read also, government exploring opportunities for building decentralized power system in Ukraine thanks to the restoration works, taking into account the latest drone attack on January 2. Now all regions have daily energy supply caps, distributed proportionately to the region's consumption. Thanks to these caps, it is possible to ensure scheduled blackouts, Sakharuk noted. He also warned that due to future freeze, the power supply may worsen. As reported, the energy system was subjected to 11 missile and 14 drone attacks by Russia. Damage to generation facilities and trunk networks is deemed complex and large-scale. Restoration work requires significant resources and time. Massive attacks on Ukrainian energy infrastructure have been ongoing since October 10. Photo, State Emergency Service of Ukraine. JSC Ukrzaliznytsia, Ukraine's state-run railway operator, has received 100 powerful charging stations for smartphones, which will be installed at train stations with the largest passenger traffic. That's according to the operator's press service, Ukrinform reports. The first stations have already been installed at the Kyiv Invincibility Fortress, the capital's railway station addition. One such station can simultaneously charge up to 33 devices and will allow traveling Ukrainians to always remain connected, despite possible blackouts, the statement reads. It is noted that the stations were produced in record time in Turkey specifically for Ukrzaliznytsia and, despite logistical issues, were delivered to Ukraine already at the beginning of this year. The charging stations were provided by the Kusto Group, a group of Kazakh entrepreneurs who have been actively supporting humanitarian projects in Ukraine. As reported, JSC Ukrzaliznytsia has scheduled additional retro train trips in the capital. The U.S. will start training Ukrainian forces on the Patriot missile system later this month, according to the Pentagon. This was reported by CNN, as seen by Ukrinform. Laura Cooper, the Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense, said the training will take several months. On Thursday, the Pentagon said the U.S. is considering bringing Ukrainians to the U.S. to train on the Patriot missile system, as well as considering training overseas or a combination of both, according to a Pentagon spokesperson. Read also, Pentagon reveals details of latest security aid package to Ukraine. I think clearly we're at a point in this battle where we're going to be able to provide that kind of training to enable Ukraine to sustain those kinds of systems so that they can focus on defending their country and taking back territory, Pentagon Press Secretary Air Force Brig General Pat Ryder said at a press briefing Thursday. As reported by Ukrinform, Ukraine is set to receive 2 batteries of Patriot missile systems, one from the USA and one from Germany. Today we were talking about those news. Epiphanius for the first time conducts Christmas service in Holy Dormition Cathedral. Zelensky congratulates McCarthy on his election as U.S. House Speaker. Russian military death toll in Ukraine rises to 110,740. Russians strike Ochakiv community's water area with artillery. Russian forces kill 2 civilians, injure 7 more in Donetsk region in past day. Poland might provide Ukraine with Leopard tanks, media. Russians criticize Putin for declaring Christmas truce ISW. DTEK explains damage Iranian drones cause to power system. Free charging stations to be installed at train stations in Ukraine. Patriot training for Ukrainian troops to kick off in January.